Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We will start talking about incident response readiness assessment and some typical issues and how to solve them. My name is Sergey Nikitin. I'm Deputy Head of Digital Forensic Lab. And today we can share some statistics, some solutions, some other interesting things about preparedness for incident responses in companies that we checked. Let's start. So the recording of webinar will be emailed to you, and you can ask your questions and answer panel. And at the end of webinar, I will read and try to answer them. So I think if you joined to our webinar, you heard about Group IB and you know what we are doing. Couple of words and about us. We global leader in threat intelligence and anti-fraud and incident response solutions. We got special service like pre-incident response assessment. And today we will speak about results of this service, some statistics, and how to improve your preparedness to some incident response process. Let's start from the typical picture of incident response. We got some company with huge troubles, and we know that roof is on fire, and most part of network and equipment and hosts and servers are infected, and we need to start incident response process. But what is the problem? The problem that clients usually did not ready to respond. What do I mean? We're not talking about some defending and protection. We're talking about incident response process. And very big companies with thousands of hosts and servers, with a lot of IT departments, I mean network department, help desk department, information security department, system architecture department, with a lot of employees, did not really can manage the network. And because of it, incident response process takes too much time. It's very hard to locate and disinfect hosts, to start IOC scanning on all hosts and servers. And in real cases, it's very necessary to for example, start indicator of compromise searching on all hosts. Because if you miss something, some forgotten laptop, some forgotten server, some forgotten network segment, and it was infected, you cannot do anything with reinfectioning, for example. If you cannot change all passwords, you cannot stop compromised accounts to work on your network. And we're talking about some procedures, very simple, but the practice show us that many companies cannot really respond fast and cool. So we got some statistics on preparedness for incident response. It's on your screen. It's when we prepare such statistics, we prepare such reports, we analyze a lot of sources of necessary information which needed to respond to different types of incidents. What do I mean? For example, if we got some attack on ATM, you need events from ATM, from some remote access servers, from servers of ATM management, etc., etc. So every type of incident need different sources and journals and actions for incident response, that this process can be enough to find all traces of malicious activity and to complete the incident response process, to scan everything, to clean everything, to see all picture from the first infection till the main incident, last host of incident, for example, ATM, which they spent money. So how you can see, state-sponsored malware, it's a really huge problem to responding because it's very sophisticated and it's really hard to respond to such attacks. So these statistics of preparedness of clients which we inspect, and the main idea is that very small amount of companies are really ready for incident response. But what's the typical issues which can be seen in these companies? For example, if we're talking about banking industry and financial organization industry, you can see that in Russia, and some of is this statistic commonly on Russia with some foreign banks added. So more than 74% of banks were not ready for cyber attacks, and more than half not able to really manage their networks. And it's very simple what I mean for management. Just run some script for IOC scanning or some program or some agent on all hosts and servers. And for example, a login desk. As for our typical recommendation, 6 months. It's a typical time period which needed for a login death, because we saw a lot of attacks which can continue for months, for 3 months, and 6 months is enough for most cases, for most incidences. But more than 80% of banks did not have such journals of needed death. So you know that it's popular theme right now on hype. It's 10-year challenges, and on a lot of our clients, we can see that they did not update their operation systems. And the main problem that such old operation systems like 2008 server by default have a very small size of Windows events login, and usually clients did not change it. The next problem is that a lot of events in a newer version of Windows operation systems very useful for incident response process. For example, on all the operation systems, when you hiding your execution of your PowerShell scripting, on Windows events, you will write only the event of execution, but you can hide the string of script which was executed. But on your version of Windows, it will be written in the event logs, and you will get a lot of another additional event logs, which very helpful for incident response process. Updates not only help you to solve the problem of vulnerabilities, but it helps you to get more and more fully picture of incident because of much more sources of evidence and sources of events. But a lot of companies did not update at all and trying to use unsupported software without capability reason. It's important. So, what's the typical issues? Typical issues is, for example, unknown service accounts without inventory. What do I mean? In many companies, they got a lot of service accounts which run some of special software. One account for some client banking system, one account for some databases, one account for some special software, and some account for testing, and all of them, for example, with administrator privileges. And because of it, because it can be hundreds of accounts, it's very hard to change all password in Active Directory. What do I mean? If you change a password of such accounts, a lot of software and services can just stop working, and it will destroy of your business process, and it's like a fire. You need to register, change everything, fix everything, and the incident response process become something like help desk process, because you got incident, but after changing of all password, nothing working. Companies did not have inventory of all service accounts with a detailed plan how to change password on it in some incident response cases. The next problem is unmanaged network. People got, for example, a lot of Active Directory domains. For some of domains, administrator passwords was forgotten. It cannot be just reset because of stopping of working of everything. A lot of hosts out of Active Directory, and it cannot be managed from one place, and etc. etc. So the main idea that if you administrator or security administrator of your network, you need some tools, service, or procedure how to run checking scripts on all hosts for looking indicator of compromise. Because without it, without checking everything, you cannot be sure that you find every tool, every compromise and malicious activity on all hosts, and you can just miss the main server or infected server with backdoors or with additional tools, because it's something like print server out of Active Directory, which was forgotten in some room. The next problem is responsible person. What do I mean? For example, this company didn't have SOC which working full day and night, and you got one of security administrator which monitor CM, antivirus, intrusion protection detection system, firewalls, and etc. And typical case that in company a lot of alerts from antivirus software on real malware, on some supported utilities for something like Mimikatz and other password gathering tools. But nobody look and monitor it's in real time, because person who respond on it out of office, absent, on vacation, drunk, I don't know. And it's a real problem because a lot of incidents can be prevented or stopped on early period, but only because of absent of person, it was missed. And yes, these companies got CM, antivirus, and other stuff which can help them, but without people, without responsibility, and without detailed plan of incident response, really working plan, it doesn't work at all. And the last typical issue is default size of event logs. So how I said, event logs and of course size of event logs on all the Windows operation systems not enough at all for incident response process, because it's very fast overwritten. And usually you cannot find the initial vector of attacks, the first infection, how it was infected, with what utilities, and etc. So for newer operation system versions, the size of event log more useful for incident response. But how I said, the main idea is 6 months of event logging. You can not store event logs or locally on your hosts. You can just after it get full, you can just not overwrite it, you can just copy it on some shared folder, send it to a log collector, send it to SIEM system. So it's on your way how to store these logs, but default sizes without some uploading it to and backuping these logs are not enough for incident response at all. Some notable solution from our inspections which we saw on our clients. The first one was a screen capture of all actions on terminal server for integrated developers. So it was some integrated developers which got terminal access via Xen server for some developing properties on development environment. And it has built-in capability to record not just video, it's something like scripted language. You can just restore all actions on this host. And you can use not only Xen solutions, there are a lot of such solutions for screen capturing. And it's very good to have opportunity to check every activity from foreign sources, from some integrated sources on your network. Because in this one of these cases, it was a real attack, like supply chain attack, because integrator was compromised and bad guys was working from real VPN connection from integrator onto these terminal services. But because of screen capture, you can restore all chronology of attack. So the next cool solution is some PAM system for multi-platform password change. How I said, it's very big problem to change every passwords on your network when they were compromised. And some PAM systems, password account management, can be very useful. For example, when you got not only Windows server, but some Linux, Macs, and such zoo of different hosts, and you need some solution how to change every password, because you cannot be sure that if half of them, for example, were compromised, that other half not compromised. And such a PAM system very cool that they got some dictionary checking, for example. And we recommend to prepare dictionary checking and make for this checking when users try to set up new password, because for example, people can use some geometrical password, some lines on your keyboard, and with some shift key, and it can be okay for some policies, password policies, but a lot of such geometrical password already in dictionaries, and can be brute forced very, very fast. So the next cool solution is importing blacklist from your proxy to DNS. What do I mean? I think you know that a lot of companies got some blacklists on their proxy, and there are a lot of built-in blacklists from a lot of companies. I mean solutions in IDS, in firewalls, and they stop some internet traffic. But we know that a lot of malicious software use DNS tunneling, and because of this tunneling, you need to disable opportunity to connect and to make connection via DNS requests to bad servers. So it's very cool solution, just not to block connections on proxy, but block any trying to resolve these bad domains too. Importing blacklists from firewall proxy to DNS. Not only to block connection, but block opportunity to resolve domains. The next solution is some checking of integrity of installed software. We saw a lot of variants of software, or something like self-written software for doing this. And if we're talking about some typical user host, which is used in organizations, something like typical image which can be installed on typical host. It's a good idea for prevent executing of software from some different sources, and we saw a solution like a program can be installed from one folder, executed only from another folder, and all of these installations and updates can be checked with integrity, with some prepared whitelisted image. Of course, it cannot be used in some development mode on some servers, but for typical workstation, it's a good solution. How you can see the rules, how to improve your opportunity and your capability for incident response, not very difficult, and all of these sections like inventory of service accounts or improving your login depth or preparing procedure for password management are understandable and simple, and I think every organization can prepare them. But of course, when we're talking about of incident response process, it's very cool to got own SOC or own CM, a lot of information security system. But what if your company not so big and you haven't such departments and it's not needed for your business process? We can introduce you our incident response services by a retainer. What do I mean? Our incident response retainer clients will got opportunity to use our team with SLA for incident response process, and we want to introduce free packets of retainer. The basic one is just some paper preparing for incident response. It's some agreements. It's understanding of your network. It's some questionnaires. And after it's of course non-disclosure agreement, and after it we can make some incident response for 7 hours of the first call, and it doesn't cost. Oh no, it costs, yeah. 1 second. Мы что-то поменяли. Yeah, sorry. So the basic retainer got 46 hours, prepaid hours of incident response process. And it's the minimal typical count of hours for typical one incident per year. And for standard and premium packets, you can see that number of prepaid hordes increases, and the cost of these hours decreases. And for standard and premium retainer packet, we can provide additional services like incident response education today on site, and incident response readiness assessment, pre-incident response for technical analyzing of your capability to incident respond, and education how to respond and didn't corrupt everything. This offer will be sent you to email, and it's a good solution when you want to improve your capability and your opportunity to incident response, and to get some understanding who and how it will be done if something goes wrong. And for our premium packages, unused prepaid hours can be converted on other group IB services like penetration testing and compromise assessment and other services on the slide. So I think that's all. I will be glad to answer your question. Yeah, I see some question. 1 second. Wish to have a little overview on file or program integrity. If we're talking about checking of integrity, there are a lot of software which can do such stuff, and we saw self-written variants. And the main idea is very simple. It's hashing. It's comparing to whitelisted prepared image. And of course, when we're talking about some integrity, said that it's a good idea for some typical workstations, typical user workstation on your network, which was installed from some default image, for example. And in such cases, these solutions works very well. You just need to add new hashes and new whitelists for new updates. It can be done automatically. It's not very difficult solution. But it can very improve you to protect from a lot of attacks and to incident response process, because everything from strange locations will be seen very, very fast. This solution did not don't connect it to incident response process, but it's just cool solution which we saw on some clients, and it can be very useful for everybody. So if you have any other question, you can text it on question and answer panel. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. I think and I hope it was useful for you. Have a nice day. Thank you.